This is me manipulating lightning to produce over 300 skeleton horses per minute, getting chased by the ender dragon on a redstone powered pig, and even freezing a wither skull in midair, all in survival Minecraft. Yeah, let me explain. You see, 2 years ago, I set out on a quest to 100% Minecraft, a project where I must complete some of the most insane challenges the game has to offer. This episode, we're going back to the earliest Minecraft versions to collect all 174 illegal items, mobs, and terrain structures in the game. So with that out the way, enjoy as I take you through the year-long story of massive successes, many failures, and complete mental burnout. We start this journey all the way back in September of 2024 in Beta 1.6 Test Build 3, where I was greeted by possibly one of the easiest group of legal items in the whole challenge. It was a great start. In this version, what appears to be 11 bonus chests generate at your world spawn. These aren't regular chests though, as they contain at least one of each type of item from 2011. From these items, I took the half bed, both waters and lavas, fire, the double stone slab, redstone wire, farmland, lit furnace, standing sign, half door, lit redstone ore, stacked cakes, nether portal, unpowered redstone torches, and powered repeaters. The remaining items I left on the ground to despawn, as I feel unless I can get them in another way, I should not be gaining items from these chests, which includes items like bedrock, which I have alternative methods to obtain later down the line. From there, I proceeded to scout an ideal base location for the rest of the challenge. So with that perfect start, I killed some sheep and crafted a bed to officially end day 1. Whoa. What? Well, it's a good thing this isn't a hardcore world. But if you can't tell, the beta versions are ruthless, as you can't sleep, you can't sprint, or even crouch. Okay, you can crouch, but it's basically pointless. Look, I fall when I uncrouch. Who's speed bridging with this? But although I didn't know at the time, this death was the start of one of the most mentally taxing portions of the entire video. But like I said, I had no clue what this was, so I pushed the death to the back of my head and went on my merry way to move all the items into the base. So I've decided to upgrade to Beta 1.7, which is a little more stable than Test Build 3. Before we go and get any more illegal items though, I do want to at least get set up with iron tools and armor, because a good thing about mining is that we need cobblestone for the next illegals anyway, so we might as well get some gear as we do it. When I said I needed lots of cobblestone, I meant it, as I spent the next few real life days mining out this giant room, netting me loads of iron and diamonds. I also dug these holes into the ceiling, which in these versions allow big slimes to spawn and die automatically, giving us slime balls that we will need later. Thanks to the Hermit Hood for this method. The link to his video will be in the description. So with all the cobblestone gathered, I upgraded to Beta 1.8.1 to collect the next illegal items. Or should I say, mobs. Okay, so this is going to be a little more difficult than the debug items, as before we can even collect these mobs, we need to travel to the nether, which I'm quite scared of. Okay, so we want to go 1,000 blocks out. Yeah, 1,000 out. Like, what kind of length would be okay? Because I don't want to despawn them. I feel like this is the better way to go. If you don't understand what I'm talking about or can't hear me talking anyway, we are using the nether as a means to fast travel far away in the overworld to store these mobs for the time being. Speaking of mobs, I think it's finally time I tell you what they even are. We are in Beta 1.8.1, the best version to pick up endermen holding blocks they don't normally hold. The only problem is we can't stop them from despawning, and there isn't much point in obtaining an illegal item if you can't even keep it. So I tried to find a workaround. Name tags didn't exist, so I couldn't use that. Boats also seemed promising, but sadly the enderman I tested could not get in one. So I had to get creative. When you play Minecraft, there are invisible spheres centered around your player that control where mobs are allowed to spawn and despawn. By storing the enderman close enough to my player while I gathered more, I could in theory collect all the endermen I need by keeping them from the can despawn range, about 32 blocks. Then once I got them to pick up their respective blocks, I would simply build another portal to leave the area, effectively locking the Enderman in stasis in unloaded chunks until I could come back in a later version and secure them properly with boats. Bro, it's so annoying that pick block doesn't exist. And the fact that I keep trolling on the block placements, goodness sake. Okay, I'm gonna finish flooding this bridge and then we can get to collecting some Endermen. Are they gonna run or what? They're angry at me, but they are moving. What's wrong with them? Just run. Oh, there's only 2 now. Where's the other ones? Yo, I have to. Let's go. Okay. If I walk to the end of here, it shouldn't despawn them. Okay, I despawned them. At this point, I was feeling pretty rubbish to say the least. I'd spent at least 6 hours gathering materials and building the catcher, and ran it for a few weeks on and off for the Enderman to just either despawn or teleport into the ocean and just die. Just so you know, I needed 30 of these guys. At once. But it was already late November by this time and I had not even completed 4% of my goal. Remember, I started in September. That was 2 months ago. And all I had to show for it was some fire and a not so fire video. Safe to say, I felt the pressure. I had no choice to make these some of the few illegal features that I skipped, as I could well spend another 4 months or even a year trying to get these, if I'm lucky. So with that whole mess behind me, I updated to beta 1.9 pre-release 3-1, promising to myself never to skip an illegal feature ever again. Anyway, in this version, we have 3 illegal features to collect, the first 2 being really fun and quick to get. Beds work. Oh my days. Beds work. Alright, so I'm putting my stuff in the chest because for these next illegal items, we need to die. So I think we'll just go to the nether and just jump into some lava. Yeah, there we go. Okay, awesome. So this is the end portal frame, and this is actually the end portal block itself. It's pretty cool. As for storing the items, it's actually quite difficult because the portal frames are easy. You can just put them in a chest like normal. But like I said before, the portal block will crash my game if I hover over it. So we've got to like do this thing where we use another item to move it into the chest. There we go. After that nice burst of progress, I moved on to the last illegal item in this version. When you enchant anything in this version, it gives you the enchanted enchantment instead of a normal enchantment. But when you update to any later version, this actually defaults to becoming a feather falling 1 enchant, meaning this method allows you to get feather falling 1 on any piece of gear in the game. But what if we took that further? If we can get feather 1, surely we could combine 2 to get feather 2, and then feather 3, and even feather 4 on any piece of gear in the entire game. This sounds great, but I've never seen anyone actually do it. And there's a good reason why. To get anything to level 4, we need 8 copies of level 1 because of the way things combine. Meaning for just diamond armor, we need 160 diamonds. But that on its own would be just fine. But it's not just that. There's also all the tools, other materials like iron and gold, misc items like shears, flint and steels, and even getting a spare copy of everything diamond to later upgrade it to netherite. This seemingly small feature has suddenly spiraled out of control to take 560 diamonds and plenty other materials. And the cherry on top? I refused to dupe any items. So it looked like I had a long mining session ahead of me, but don't worry, I'll speed up for you. After a few months, yes, a few months, we are now in February, I had not only mined all the resources I needed, but also enchanted it all in the zombie spawner attached to my newly decorated base. You may think I'm pretty terrible at time management, but we're actually on pretty good pace. Let me explain. It may be true that we are over 6 months into the project with less than 10% actually done, but we will soon leave the beta grind segment of the challenge and enter the fun, quick-fire illegal items that I've been looking forward to. But it's not going to be all plain sailing. as I still have 4 mega machines to build in the process for specific purposes you'll see later on. So without losing any more time, let's quickly finish the last 2 beta versions with a bang. The first thing I did in beta pre-release 4 was actually downgrade back to pre-1. I did this a few hundred blocks away from my base to avoid corruption and jumped for 10 minutes to get over 200 levels. Yeah, that works. I'm not spending any more time with that zombie spawner. I then upgraded back to pre-4 and started backup abusing the enchantment table until 49. Yes! Come on! Fortune 3 and Silk Touch 1. I then ran through my strip mine looking for oak planks, a sign I had left when I was mining to show I'd found a mob spawner. From this I got about 8 spawners using the new pickaxe to silk touch it. Another block we can also silk touch in this version is the infested stone, so I crafted some Eyes of Ender and tore apart a library for half an hour. From here it was on to pre-5 for the final beta version we will be visiting. In this version I got some chests with blocks on top and to the side of them that they can't normally have. Although I couldn't place them directly, this wasn't too hard as I could use this weird technique to place them. Vines were a little bit annoying, but in the end I just placed some torches next to it to stop it growing. I also managed to make a bottom half oak and iron door by growing a tree through the top half. Unfortunately I couldn't remove the tree without breaking the door, so most of the tree had to stay. One of the cooler illegal blocks was getting water in the nether, which I got with the classic playground story of melting ice in the nether. They weren't lying, it was just an old version. Finally, the last item in the betas was also really easy. All I had to do was grab some wood and craft some slabs to make the petrified oak slabs, which if you don't know is an oak slab that just behaves like a stone one. Now that we're in the full release of the game, things are more stable for the most part. I did run into a bit of trouble upgrading world formats to be able to play past beta, but for the video's sake, I won't be explaining it here. The first snapshot I loaded into after leaving beta was 12W21B for the first 2 illegal villager trades. To do this, I actually had to find a village though, but luckily there was one only a few hundred blocks away from my base that managed to work. Then I built this really old villager breeder design with doors to lure them into the middle area. I then waited for cleric villagers to breed and got one with a high rotten flesh to emerald ratio and one that will buy Eyes of Ender. Next up was the Ender Dragon farm, capable of providing 1.7 million XP per hour and yet another illegal feature. This is the first mega machine and is designed by Captain Solo. To enter the end, I placed some end portal blocks in my base for fast travel and lured the dragon to the opposite side of the end island to trap it and unload it chunks. I then gathered these materials you see on screen. The slime for the 2 sticky pistons was obtained by the slime farm we set up many months ago, while the ice was gathered with the Silk Touch and Fortune pickaxe. Since Lightmatica and other schematic mods don't exist for old versions and snapshots, I had to constantly switch between a creative version of the farm and my world to ensure I was building everything correctly. Apart from being over the void though, the build was really simple and easy to follow. With the farm now built, the only thing left to do is to actually get the dragon in there. So I went to where I had left the dragon and began the fight to eliminate all the end crystals and get the dragon to 1-hit range. Getting the dragon actually into the farm itself proved to be harder than I'd first thought. Captain Solo makes use of boats and an auto clicker to travel at an incredible speed to outrun the dragon while keeping it loaded. However, when I tried this, the boats constantly kicked me out to the side into the void, so I decided to leave the dragon farm until this bug was fixed. After that, I upgraded to 12W41A, the first version that anvils were added, to rename a few common and few illegal items to have no name attached to them. 12W49A was also similar, except I could put one enchantment on any item in the game. So that I didn't spend years on this one version, I chose to do only a few items, getting a carved pumpkin with aqua affinity, a feather with sharpness, and reap with protection. We were now about 16% of the way done with the challenge, but this number was about to skyrocket. If you thought we were going fast before, it's about to get a whole lot faster. This next group of illegals is, by far, the single biggest group in the whole challenge, and is obtainable in version 1.4.7. In this version, we have to get 67 unique illegal villager trades. So I made a new, faster villager breeder and a spot to store my villagers, including the 2 from before. So enjoy the 3 weeks of mass villager collection. After getting all 67 trades, I upgraded twice to 13W01A and 13W06A-1 for nether powered daylight sensors and spawner minecarts respectively. I thought that the bug glitch for the Ender Dragon farm had now surely been fixed, so I went into the end to test. I was wrong. Now how was I meant to get the dragon into the farm? I tested speed potions, ender pearls, and even minecart tracks, but to no avail. I was using the fastest modes of transportation in the game at this point, and the dragon was still too fast. I was at a dead end. Until I was doing things wrong. You see, in a video about breaking the game and getting broken items, I should not be using modes of transportation intended by the developers, as they just aren't capable. So instead of using a full powered rail track, we're going to be using this, the piston bolt, one of the technical Minecraft community's finest inventions, often used to travel around big tech servers. However, I could also use it here, you know, to run from an ender dragon. It works by pushing the minecart along these curved tracks and snapping them to the adjacent rail multiple times per second, resulting in huge bursts of speed. So I got the materials together and built the piston bolt going from the spawn platform all the way to the killing mechanism. All that was left to do was finally get the ender dragon into the farm. Come on. No! My days. Nah. Wait, that worked. That just saved me the entire thing. I think that was it. I think I did it. Maybe. Now that I finally had the first mega machine fully built, I AFK'd the farm for about 10 minutes for a few hundred levels of XP. I've also realized I've never actually told you guys how the farm worked. I know I'm really professional and all that. It works by recycling the dragon's death animation and unloading it before it finishes dying, and starting the animation again, allowing it to keep dropping thousands of XP every time. This meant that after over half a year of this challenge, I now had maxed out diamond armor. With this newly found motivation, I started on collecting more rapid fire illegals to make my way to the second mega machine, which would end up being the most complex project I've ever worked on. In 13W38B, I collected the air item by killing some leftover villagers. Yes, believe it or not, this is in fact air. Then I went to 14W02A to get 2 more villagers. One that buys ender pearls and one that trades pumpkins that we have to store in unloaded chunks till later. We also get a zombie with leggings and boots and a normal skeleton to store those in unloaded chunks as well. These will later become dual wielding and weaponless variants when mobs' inventory formats change. Unstable TNT was next, which also needed to be in unloaded chunks. Common theme in this version, I know. If you've never heard of this block, I don't blame you. It's TNT with the unstable tag set to true, meaning that if you break it, instead of dropping the block, it will light. We obtain it using this setup with an arrow, which triggers a process known as block transmutation. I'll be honest, I don't really understand this bug, but I can tell you that it did work. Next was one that I've been looking forward to for a long time, the killer bunny. In 14W27A, the killer bunny normally has a 1 in 1,000 chance of spawning, when a normal rabbit attempts to spawn. However, there is an easier method. When you first load new chunks in your world, the mobs that generate with the terrain are seed dependent. This means that they will always be there, even on separate copies of your world. So I used the Killer Bunny Finder program that will tell me the regions that one could spawn if I give it the world seed.
This program is made by Captain Solo. Sound familiar? Yeah, this guy made the dragon farm as well, what a legend. Anyway, I went to the coordinates and found a few killer bunnies that spawned in rabbit packs. Bit of an irrelevant side note, I got really lucky with this region, as it generated like 4 pink sheep. This is the most goated region to exist. I then updated to 15W31B to collect the dragon egg from the now broken dragon farm, getting the exit portal in the wrong spot. I then built a creeper face out of clay to respawn the dragon. This is before the end crystal method existed, and more importantly, allows me to get another dragon egg, which is technically illegal as I don't use gravity duping. Next up is 15W33C. Here I got an armor stand and a minecart. Pretty trivial. Then I went to collect 3 wither skulls to spawn the wither. When I was in the fortress, I got stationary ghast and blaze fireballs. This is achieved by unloading and reloading them, which causes them to lose speed. Relogging also gets the same result though, so every time I would hear a ghast fire at me, I would simply relog and freeze it in place. I somewhat wish this was still a thing. I felt so powerful. With 3 projectiles of 5 frozen, I got the dragon fireball when also getting the other egg. I spawned the wither to get the regular and blue skulls frozen in the air. I also got a beacon from this, which is pretty cool. Although it's not illegal, it's still nice to have. What? No, I didn't die getting it. That's your imagination. I then travelled to the outer end islands to find an end city with a floating ship. Here I found a hopper containing a written book signed by Surge. The solution was a hopper. This allowed me to copy it to get the copy of original, copy of a copy, and of course, the original. 15W35A was a fun one. In this version, all zombies spawn with the no AI tag set to true, which basically means they have no brain. So I made sure to get all types of them, being multiple of the regular zombie, villagers, zombie pigmen, and their baby variants. The next thing I did wasn't to do with illegal items at all. I went back to the outer end islands to find a new end city, as this is the first time I could get an elytra. Although they weren't of any use right now, this would be a game changer in just a few updates. The next thing on the to-do list was 15W41A, getting oversized mobs and boats. I respawned the Ender Dragon again and placed a boat on top of the end fountain and waited for it to perch. When it did, it was trapped in the boat, unable to move. I'll admit, I do find it funny that you can trap the final boss of Minecraft with 5 wooden planks you can get in the first minute of any world. Anyway, the dragon wasn't the only mob I had to get in a boat though. The Elder Guardian was what I planned next, which didn't take me an hour to get. What are you talking about? You imagining things again? On my way back, I also got a squid into a boat and waited for a thunderstorm to get a skeleton horse into one too. I also made 2 iron golems at my base, one was to go in a boat, obviously. The other one wasn't so special yet, but after this update, iron golems don't take as much knockback, but this one still will. In the nether, I got a ghast into a boat, which was actually easier than the squid, believe it or not. They seem to have the utmost urge to inhale the seabed. No idea why. In some random nether fortress, I got the large magma cube, and after making a nether portal, got the spider and large slime. But since boats didn't stop mobs from despawning yet, I still had to use the nether portal method from earlier to keep them in existence. It was right after getting the ghast that I realized how broken my world had become. Bro, what the heck is this? This looks epic, but it's just like, what is happening? What's happening to my world, bro? I have honestly never seen anything like that happen in Minecraft, and probably will never again. But it did make me appreciate, even with collecting all these illegal features and set tasks, nobody will ever experience the journey of Minecraft quite like you or me. Every Minecraft world is unique, every player is unique, and only with the specific versions I've been in, the world seed, and how I play this, will it ever exist. It's a cool thought to have. But we've got no time to slow down. 15W44B was next. In this version, I also needed a thunderstorm, so I waited for one to arrive and waited for a skeleton trap to spawn. It was important that I didn't split the trap, so I kept my distance. To move the trap, I used a few fishing rods to hook it into the nether. Then I went through to get some wither skeleton horse riders. A pretty cool feature in my opinion. On the top of the list now was bedrock, possibly the most famous illegal item ever. We get this by respawning the dragon with end crystals and stopping the animation to cause a bedrock block to drop from the fountain. There was a problem though. I had a dragon already, and it was an illegal feature, so I couldn't just kill it. I tried moving it out of render distance, but that didn't work. I was gonna have to either kill the dragon in the boat or skip getting bedrock, breaking the promise I told myself. After much consideration, I ultimately decided to skip bedrock, as I thought the dragon in the boat was just a cooler feature, to be honest. After that mess, I got the armor stand with a shield. I've got zero idea how this guy's holding it. Does he not know about gravity? Oh, yeah, okay. I also got water columns with soul sand and magma blocks at the bottom of them. This is because bubble columns don't exist yet, so this will later become an illegal block formation. 16W32B had me cure my first Sillager, which had to be a nitwit, as in this version, for some odd reason. Nitwits have trades. That's another for the counter. In 16W38A, I went to do some fishing. This isn't because I wanted to relax. I needed to, because if I fished for long enough, I would eventually go to these, the uncraftable potions. I had to get 3 though. 1 normal, 1 splash, and 1 lingering. Although things had been going too well. So when I went into the end for the dragon's breath, the boat thought it was a good idea to break and release the ender dragon, which is not only annoying because I don't have it in the boat anymore, but because I could have got bedrock as well. Anyway, I got the breath and a 3rd dragon egg. My world is so broken. So with the uncraftable potions done, I updated to 16W39A to find a woodland mansion. Although it doesn't appear like it right now, all of these vindicators won't have access in future updates, which actually can't be broken like pillagers, making them illegal. Lastly, I crafted some firework rockets to get rockets with no flight duration, which means in the next update, we can fly. Not only could I fly in 16W58, it was also time to get started on the second mega machine. I'll explain more when we start building, but first we need to travel 100,000 blocks out to specific coordinates. So I grabbed some shulker boxes and basic materials and headed out to my build site through the nether roof. Once I got there, I broke some bedrock using the dragon egg to get back under the roof. The reason we did this is because nether portals don't link to the top of the roof in this version, so instead we build it right under. Once into the overworld, I built a villager breeder and got a mending villager, creating the mending and infinity bow. Then I updated to 1.12.2 to build a gold farm and put mending on all my tools and armor. I AFK'd the gold farm for a few hours to get enough gold for a full beacon pyramid. The reason we're using gold is because it's by far the easiest mineral to get in this version in mass quantities, since the old iron farms suck. Then I marked out the area for the second mega machine, the RNG manipulation lightning farm, used to produce enough skeleton horses to consistently drop rare illegal helmets and bows, which can have the same enchantment stacked twice. The reason we're building it so far out is because of the RNG or random number generator value that this region has, which can let us make lightning strike the same chunk and spawn horses up to 20 times per second by loading chunks. This topic is extremely complex and I'm not about to pretend I know everything about it. So if you want more info, I've linked some good resources in the description. Back to the matter at hand though. If we want to make lightning consistent, we need to remove all of the RNG causing blocks in the area. This includes crops, lava, and even grass. So I built these bombers by Raiseworks and Comet to hollow out the land. And since we're in 1.12, we now have replay mode. So it's time for the first actual time lapse. Now with everything gone, I gathered the remaining materials I needed for the farm and built the additional thunder trigger a few thousand blocks away in a separate region to RNG manipulate rain and thunder to start in 10 minutes exactly. AFK'd this farm for weeks, trying to get the elusive Protection 8 gold and Protection 6 diamond helmets. I didn't want this farm to go to waste. I got a Protection 7 gold helmet 4 times in those weeks, and over 200 Protection 6s, but no Protection 8. I was close to skipping this, but I didn't want to break the promise again. But then I did some research. Duplicate enchantments are removed in 1.21 anyway, so I didn't really see the point of getting Protection 8 if it was just going to be converted to Prot 4. So I took all the good helmets and bows I had collected, along with some bones, and went back to my base, because I would actually rather play the game than just gamble for some helmets. That's what casinos are for. Now that I was back home, we entered into the 1.13 update aquatic section, which is known for being extremely buggy and hostile to worlds like mine. In fact, it's this collection of versions that required us putting so many features in unloaded chunks, just to protect them. So with that debrief, let's go into 17W47B for the Snowy True Grass block. This one is really easy and just requires us to get an enderman to pick up and place a grass block with snow on top of it. I also got the uncraftable tipped arrows for just killing strays. One of the few things we can reload in this version though is the villager with the pumpkin trade we left ages ago, and his trade will now have carved pumpkins instead of normal ones. This is due to an event known as the flattening, which changed a lot of IDs that many blocks had, including the pumpkin. In 18W06A, all we needed to do was fly to new outer end island chunks, generating unconnected forest plants. In 18W07A, phantoms spawned with a higher damage stat than normal, and trapping them retains this stat, making it illegal. Next on my list was to get a trident with incompatible enchantments of channeling, loyalty, and riptide all at the same time. However, this proved to be difficult. My game would crash every 2 minutes when exploring. It would reset random chunks, and cause insane amount of server-side lag that made the game just unplayable. It was now that I also realized something arguably worse. I've not mentioned it yet, but last year I spent over 1,000 hours mining 30,000 diamonds in episode 1. This was done in version 1.20, a modern version of the game. If I were to go to my base in the current version, it would be all replaced by new terrain due to Minecraft not recognizing most of the blocks and items. To avoid this happening, I've stuck to only playing on the opposite half of my world for the entire challenge so far. At least, that's what I thought. I had just now realized that I had messed up. When leaving spawn back in test build 3, I accidentally flipped the negatives on the coordinates, which caused me to overwrite my old base and my last year of work, and keep the half with pretty much nothing on it. Everything had just crumbled down. But although it stung, I wasn't sad. I wasn't angry. In fact, I wasn't even demotivated. I'm not even doing this for the video, I just genuinely wasn't fazed, and to be honest, I have no idea why. But I moved on. Just to be clear, I will mine those diamonds again. I'm not going to cheat them back, I'm going to work for them. And maybe just get a world record when doing it. But that's for another video. We still have illegal items to get. So I travelled back to an end city and updated to 18W15A to get purple shulkers. This also turned all my shulker boxes purple, which I think is quite funny.
Purple isn't a color, they said. It's violet, they said.
Then I went to one of the spare no AI zombies that I got earlier and drowned it in water, converting it to a no AI drowned. Then I updated to 18W43A, which is in the Village and Pillage update. Finally, I was done with this stupid aquatic mess. First up here was getting the negative durability shears by shearing sheep with a dispenser. Then I got a crossbow loaded with air by throwing out my only arrow when it was loading. In 18W45A, patrol mobs are extremely common, which is helpful as I need a mob with the old banner on its head. In 19W07A, I used a dispenser to put some Thorns armor on a fox, which could also be used to get a rare death message. 19W08A is one of my favourite versions for some reason, as you can get a waterlogged lit campfire by using a fire charge on a waterlogged campfire. In 19W11A, I got the enchanted diamond hoe trade and the arrow of luck trade in 19W14B. Yeah, we can get infinite of that effect now. Before going any further, I needed to trade all the villagers I got from 1.4.7 to prevent them from losing their trades. Then I updated to 1.14 to get a pumpkin with curses, the multi-prot armor we've all seen a million times, wet sponge in the nether, and overstacked curse books. It was now I could also reload the unstable TNT, dual wielding and weaponless mobs as well. Now we're getting to the nether update territory, which has some of the most unique illegals. 20W08A is a little underwhelming. It's just a baby piglin holding a soul torch and soul lantern. 20W11A lets us have negative durability boots by running on soul sand with soul speed, as it doesn't have to check to see if the boots should break. 20W13A has flying striders, which I just think is hilarious. 20W15A is a baby piglin one where it's just holding a soul campfire. 20W16A generates piglins and hoglins with fast speed stats and bastions. So I loaded a few in and went to a treasure bastion to empty this lava rectangle to get the barrier block. For all the speedrunners out there, we're now in 1.16.1 to get yet another baby piglet, this time holding leather. I know, this is the content you're here for. Now we're making the jump all the way to 1.18.2 for the third mega machine designed by Sensei, the update suppressor. So after turning my beacon into rails and gathering all the random blocks I needed, I spent a few hours making every block in the game that shouldn't float. Well, all except kelp. Kelp was being annoying. This includes other blocks like fences and walls that think they're connected to blocks when they aren't. After I was done with that, I also made a sliced nether portal for fun. Also, the reason why this was so trivial for me is because I've done my fair share of update suppression in the past, so this wasn't too difficult, just time consuming. Now into Caves and Cliffs Part 3 was 22W14A to get the recovery compass with Curse of Vanishing. Who knew the most useless item could get even more useless? Then I built this modified version of Razeworks Infinite Effect Machine in 23W05A to give the cow the permanent speed effect. I named him Speed Cow. I know, so fitting. 1.20 pre-release 4 seemed to be the pumpkin update or something because I got curses on jack-o'-lanterns and a jack-o'-lantern on an armor stand. 24W18A. I was now at the point where my current version was more modern than the version I originally downgraded from, meaning I could finally go to the other half of my world and explore the few remnants left by my past self. The only really notable thing was the tunnel bore tunnel that was cut off from the new spawn chunks. Since these were newer chunks, I found a trial chamber with the pie chart and grinded ominous trials until getting 2 maces. Then I got one with breach 4 and density 5 and the other one with sharpness 5. I was now one last illegal feature from completing the whole challenge. One of the most famous and well-known illegal features is the Farlands. However, with it only generating until beta 1.7.3, it's very difficult to obtain due to it being 12.5 million blocks away from spawn. But we're going to get it. Introducing the fourth and final mega machine, the Chronos 360 Pig Cannon, capable of charging a pig with incredible amounts of momentum, allowing us to travel to the Farlands in only 13 minutes, as opposed to the months of non-stop walking it would normally take. To build it, we need this monstrous material list. This machine is designed for a world with already complex infrastructure and farms, but I don't have any of that, so I had a bit of a harder time gathering the resources. It was the amount of redstone that scared me though, being almost 20,000 dust to craft all the components. Just to remind you, it took me a year to mine 30,000 diamonds, and I have to get 20,000 redstone and loads of other resources, build and debug the cannon in just under a week. On top of that, I was out of energy from all the Minecraft I'd been playing, and to be honest, I was just burnt out. I have never built a single machine with a material list as bad as this. Even the Infinibores I built in episode 1 were tame compared to this. But this time, I wasn't gonna skip anything. I've not spent the last 11 months of my life on this stupid challenge, only to quit at the last hurdle. So instead, I pulled all-nighters building a witch farm only for it to suck, to then go to one of my old Infinibore tunnels to get the redstone that way. I built this 8-cell iron farm to produce the 12,000 iron I needed, and replace the beacon pyramid. I also built a cobblestone farm and a semi-automatic dark oak farm. Then after a few more hours of gathering random stuff, I could finally get to building it. Once done, I encoded it with the coordinates I needed to go to, and debugged a few things on a backup before launching the cannon.
I found the totem, saddle, we go.
Just a quick message from editing me. Firstly, thank you so much for watching this far. It means so much more than you could ever think. I do have something to ask of you though. In order to keep making these videos, I need them to perform well. I'm leaving high school soon and won't be able to continue this series without your guys' help. I know every YouTuber says this, but I really mean it. If you could like, subscribe, or comment to show the algorithm you like the video, that would actually be awesome. I read every comment I get and try to reply to as many as I can. On top of that, if you have any ideas for any other challenges in this world, please check out the Google spreadsheet and form in the description. This episode was merely just one of the tasks on this list. So please, if you want to be a part of helping this become one of the most legendary Minecraft worlds to ever exist, please leave your idea, you will be credited. Again, thank you so much for watching, and without wasting any more time, let's downgrade to beta 1.7.3 and load in the Farlands.
Here it goes. There we go. Okay, we are now at 1.4.7. It's the Farlands, it's the Farlands, it's the Farlands. Look at the clouds! Whoa! We're here.